Good morning. Welcome to another edition of the Brothers of Legacy. I am the AD in the place to be. I appreciate you guys rocking and hanging and being a part. It's going to be a fabulous day. Fabulous. Good morning, Miss Lisa. Good morning. Blessings to you as well. Thank you for always being in the building. All right, let's do this. I'm gonna do this. Split splow. Put this right here. Thank you guys for being here. Sports Car Lady, good morning. Cheryl in the building. Yes, indeed, a fabulous day. All right, let's go. So today, we are discussing. Thank you for sharing, Lisa. Appreciate you. Make sure you follow that and share. Good morning, Miss Yvonne. Great morning to you. Thank you for being here, being in the place to be. All right, let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Today we're talking about, are we raising kids, raising adults, or just watching kids? Today we're talking about that. So yesterday we talked about preparing them for legacy. And today we're going to get into the intricacies of raising adults, as well as we're going to be sharing, or I'll be sharing, my journey becoming an adult, and all of that, and then some. So it's going to be a fabulous conversation. So make sure you share, connect, tag somebody that should be a part of this conversation. Don't be stingy with this broadcast. Let everybody know that the brothers is in the building. Let's see. All right. Don't you hate when you got a pen and it don't work? Why is it not working? All right, that's good. All right, so make sure you are part, as well as if you're missing the notifications, you're watching this on a replay, you're like, why do I keep missing this amazing broadcast? Be sure to join our community. Text LWN to 84576. Text LWN to 84576. And never, ever miss an episode. All right. Yeah, so make sure you do that as well. Hold on one second. So make sure you are part of what's happening. Sorry, guys, having some technical issues. All right, so sorry, guys. All right, so I appreciate you guys rocking and hanging with us. So make sure you share. Sharing is caring. Like I said, we're going to be talking about raising adults or just watching kids and all of that, because, you know, you can get into such a pattern of just watching your kids, kind of doing the basic, thank you, ma'am, doing, you know, not doing more than you should to prepare your children to become adults, because sometimes it's just easier. You know, you can't ever do something and you want to punish, but you know that punishment is going to punish you as well. It's like you're going to send them somewhere, but now you can't. It's like, now they got to stay here. It's like we were both going to have a good time, but now we're not. But, you know, it's like you want to do the things that you gotta show consequences for actions, and you can't take the lazy route. So those stuff we're going to talk about today. You know, because it hurts me more than it hurts you kind of moments, not even just the spanking, but just like, oh, you know, now you here, I'm here, I got to stay home because you home, you know. So those are, you know, some of the consequences affect everybody. So, all right, we're going to dig into that. We're going to have a great conversation. So make sure you share. Sharing is caring. I will not be here alone, which is an awesome thing. So let me drop this intro. We'll be right back. And it'll be me and Pastor Brian McCrory in the building. All right. We'll be right back after this. All right. Good morning. And welcome to another edition of the Brothers of Legacy. Not to catch me for. Oh, I didn't change it up. There we go. Good morning, Pastor. Happy
morning. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
How you doing, brother? The Legacy family.
Yes, indeed. Everybody's in the building, just about. Richard said, "I know that one. Have to catch me first." Doing something. Oh man. Oh, but yeah. So today we're going to talk about raising adults, or are we just watching our children? And like I started off saying, it can be easier just watching your kids getting through day to day and not doing the extra work and preparing them for adulthood. So today I kind of want to dig into that transitioning period. What does it look like? I know for me, it's what does it look like? Pastor's kind of been there, now doing it again, kind of situation. I know, and we're going to talk about our personal experiences as well.
Morning, Cheryl.
Making those transitions from being, from childhood, to teenager to full adult to this is all on you. No more excuses. Good morning, Keita. Great morning to you. So we're gonna dig into that and what that looks like. And if you have transitioned your children, let us know what that looked like for you and how was that process. We got a few in our village that are going through that now. So you look.
So you tell Samantha.
What's that?
What Richard Fay just said. I look younger than my age.
Yes, you do.
Tell her to go sit down and eat some popcorn. Telling me I look old.
Hey, good morning, Deborah. Great morning to you.
Hey, Deborah.
So yeah, we're gonna dig into that, and all of that, and then some. So let's start our pastor. So, I know you had some extra responsibilities growing up as a child, so you kind of got your transition in a sense early, as far as having a level of responsibility. I know a level that I wasn't on, as far as household responsibilities. So you kind of had an understanding by the time, it was time for you to be fully responsible for yourself, and moving forward, you had somewhat of a foundation, in some of the basics of adulting. But what was that transition like? Because you went into the military. So what was that transition like of going from, from being in a household into being on your own?
Well, I have thought about that testimony off and on for so many years, man.
Okay.
And one part of my brain says I was given extra responsibility early.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But when I see young people today at the age that I was then,
right,
I feel more like it was necessary. Right.
Okay.
Because now I feel like young people, 12, 13, there's not enough accountability or responsibility in a lot of them that I see.
Right.
Like, it's important for children to be children, but it's important for you to understand the real lessons of responsibility and accountability early in life.
Right.
And so a lot of times, not having a father in the house and being left responsible, I don't know if that was too much too soon or not.
Right.
When I consider the mindset of young people today. Right. Now, some may say that's old school. So anyway, the transition from, home to the military, I recognize that I did not come up in a household that quote unquote is considered traditional.
Right.
But for me, it was.
Right. It's what you knew. It's like, right.
Yeah. So there wasn't a whole lot of shift from home to military, because I went to school, but I also worked part-time.
Right.
So I knew how to get up and go to school. I knew how to get up, get myself together. I knew how to go to work.
Right.
you know.
Right.
So I don't really know. I think that the biggest thing was just being away from my mother, being away from my
Okay.
family, being away from my comfort zone. That was the biggest
Right.
transition for
Right.
me,
For you.
as it would be for anyone. So
Right.
that really, I mean, just off the top, that's
Yeah.
kind of where I was.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I think for myself, yeah, I was a little more sheltered. I didn't have the level of responsibility. Like, even because it's funny, Sam, my wife, and Pastor kind of have some of the similar growing ups, as far as level of responsibility.
Yeah.
That they kind of mirror. And, like, I get it. It's like it's like the resistance to growth. Like, you're able to you hit the gym earlier. You kind of dealt with some things that in essence are helpful, but then it's like, did you miss out on some of your childhood? Did it matter? Like, did you grow up quicker than you needed to, or did you grow up exactly the way you needed to? Like,
Right. Yeah.
and so, because Sam's like, I think I grew up quicker. I'm like, I get it, but it's helped put you in a good position as an adult, but it's just such a weird space, especially when I think it's because we compare, like, if you and Sam was the norm, like, that's just how we do. By 13, you got a checkbook, you got to pay bill, like, it would have been the norm, but when there's a comparison of everybody else and how they grew up, it's like, oh, my growing up was different,
Which, I mean, it just makes it relative.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's relative to your environment, to
Right.
your infrastructure, to your
Right.
local community,
Right.
because everybody's different.
Right. Yeah.
You
Because
say you grew up sheltered.
yeah.
Some would say, no, you grew up covered. You grew up
Right. Right. True. True.
But I will tell you that in our home, like my youngest two daughters,
Right.
Brienne and Rachel. Brienne is 18. Rachel is 17.
Mm-hmm.
Brienne and Rachel were doing their own laundry, at 8.
Nice. Okay.
Washing, folding, putting
Right.
away,
Right.
and could do it without having to be monitored.
Nice.
We had people come to the house. I'm like, oh my gosh, your girls are washing clothes? I'm like,
Right.
yours aren't?
Right. What are you doing?
Right.
Right.
And so certain people's mindset is like, oh no, that's just too young. And I'm like,
Right.
no, that's
No,
great. So
right.
that by the time they're 13,
Yeah, they can do it. Yeah.
it's like clipping your fingernails.
right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. And so, picking up behind yourself,
Right.
I struggle when I see children's rooms a mess,
Right.
because you're waiting for the parent to come pick up behind the child
Right.
instead of teaching the child at an early age to
Oh,
put
yeah.
things back
Right.
when you're finished with them.
Right.
I know what it looks like at 6, but imagine what that looks like at 12.
Yes.
And if you
Yeah.
start getting
Yeah.
on them at 12,
Yeah.
by the time they learn it, they're out of
Right.
the house and they haven't really learned. Somebody's calling me because I'm not responding.
All right.
I'll
I'm
be
gonna take
right
your
back.
phone.
I'll be right back.
No worries. Oh, so yeah, so there's a truth to that. When do you start? And if you really think about it, the earlier the better. The earlier children learn how to do the basics, the better. And I guess I don't want to. I guess for some, it's like, I don't want them messing my washing machine up. I don't want them messing, my dryer up. I don't want them, tearing stuff up, because I'm behind mine, like, this needs to be cleaner, or you need to make sure this or watch that, so I do get that part of it. But like for me, yeah, I didn't do laundry, real talk, until I went to college. So I kind of figured it out, from maybe what I seen my mother do, but I never had to do, if that makes sense. So a lot of my own learning happened when I went to college, and I just did what I had to do, and I figured it out. I mean, it's my clothes, so I just, oh, you don't put the whites with them colors that leak because it's going to turn your stuff that color. So, you learn, I had to learn, oh, don't put those colors with the hot water, put them with the cold water. So learning that stuff. So my transition was kind of like trial and error after I left the house. I did have like the chores, of course, at home. And, I had the kitchen, the living room, vacuuming, mopping, dusting, on certain days. They were my days. And just as a perspective of, I kind of grew up as an only child because my brother's 10 years older. So by the time, like, I'm 13, he was 23. So he was leaving the home by the time I was at the age to really start doing anything. Richard said, I learned a few things early, but most of what I learned recently, most in the last 7 years. I hear you. So it's important that we are raising our children, to prepare to be an adult. And, like I said, is that too early? It's funny. I was looking at some videos about becoming an adult. And, for me, I like to look at comments of videos because sometimes those are more entertaining than the video. And one of the guys was like, yeah, when I was younger, this is like the 90s, 80s, 90s. And he said, I lost my job or quit my job. I lost my home or something. I was in my parents' house, and at 5 a.m., my dad was banging on the wall, like, you're not about to lay up in this house and watch TV on my dime. It was like after, and I think he not his house, but I think he was younger, like early 20s or something like that. But he was kind of, taking a break because he had lost some things, got out of school or whatever. And someone was like, that's horrible, that's abuse or whatever. And, he was like, but it taught me a lot, So to me, the waking up at 5 a.m., if that's when I'm getting up to go to work, yes, I'm letting you know you are not about to lay around this house all day, just so we clear about what's happening, in a home. And it's funny. Someone else had put about being, bringing a child back into the house. They went through something. Now they lost their home. They were like 30. But now how long do you let your child mope around and not doing anything? And the person that did the video, he's like, a doctor was like, you got to make it clear when you let them back in the house. These are the expectations. This is what you need to be doing. This is what you need to be contributing. You get a moment to rest, but at the same time, this is what you need to do. So it's having those conversations, right, when they're older, but teaching them and laying the foundation when they're younger that matter. Teaching your kids how to bounce back from adversity, because they got to know, like, if they never know loss, if they never know what adversity looks like, it's hard to really deal with it when it happens. So these are some of the basics of as a child that we kind of need to teach. It's almost like you want your child to go through a little something in order to become better and stronger when they become an adult. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, because you can tell them everything, but sometimes until they either see it or feel it, it's like, can they get it? That's my question. If they can't see it, they can't feel it, can they really get it? You can try to talk to you blue in the face, but if you're in your comfortable home talking about adversity, it's like maybe one ear out the other. Okay, I'm going back to my room and play my video games. Do they really see the challenges of life from the space of comfort? And we have to be able to somehow push. We did some. We were doing some volunteering to feed or to give out boxes, just to do some work in the community. But like, I want my kids to know that it's going to get tough sometimes, that you need to be able to push through. My kids, like, when we're exercising and things like that, things are going to get tough. You got to learn to push through. You got to learn to push through, because it's going to be adversity, and you're not going to be able to stop all the time. You're going to be at work, and it's going to get rough. It's going to get tough. It's going to get annoying, but you can't quit every time it gets hard. He said, my parents in their 70s earned the right to lazy around me and my brother to do it all. Right. Definitely. But yeah, it's the challenges that we face, with our children and getting them from, from childhood to adulthood, and giving them responsibility, being able to, this is what you're supposed to do, and let them do it. I think that's the biggest thing, letting them do it. And like I said, my wife grew up different than I did. So, she starts early. And I was like, is that a lot? But I let her push them to be more responsible, because I feel it does help. It does help, so I had to kind of get out of my comfortable box, like, okay, they need to have this responsibility. Give it to them, let them wash dishes, let them learn, let them, fail at it sometimes. And so they can learn how to do it more properly and get better at it. Because if we don't push our children into a space of growth, they will get stuck, and they will have a hard time taking those responsibilities, so we got to get them into the responsible space so it's at least part of their foundation. Oh, Richard said I was a bit of a rebel. That's one thing I wasn't. I wasn't that dude my parents had to be up at night, late night, worrying about, because I was in the house. Like I never rebelled. I never was that.
I think there's a difference between being a rebel,
yeah,
and having rebellious moments.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think every young person has rebellious moments.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, turning more of their hair gray. Oh yeah. Oh, but yeah, it's yeah, we have to. And like I was saying, my wife challenges the kids earlier than I did, because I'm like, are they old enough to do that? Like, should they be? And I'm like, all right, like let's go, because like I said, I grew up a little different, and I didn't wash clothes until I was in college, so I had my trial and error.
Wow.
Right. I told you. Right.
That's called spoiled.
See, I said sheltered. No,
that's spoiled. You 18 years old and can't wash clothes, man.
See, don't do that. Don't do that. Listen, they're like, you're not about to jack up the washer and dryer.
Right.
Now I did move the wash clothes into the dryer. I did stuff like that, but straight up washing. He said, he said, Trina said, so my 17-year-old sneaking out of the house is rebellious moment.
Well, it just depends on how consistently your 17-year-old is doing it. Right. If your 17-year-old has snuck out of the house a couple of times,
right,
then those are rebellious moments. But if your 17-year-old just doesn't know how to come home, that's a rebellious child.
Right. Right.
I'm not trying to put that on your child, but what 17-year-old hasn't snuck out of the house?
Right.
Mine hasn't.
Right.
But that's because COVID-19, human trafficking, there are a lot of things that
that's helping your parents
in the mind of a 17-year-old.
Right. Like, I ain't leaving. I ain't going out there. You crazy. This was, okay. It's the first time that I know.
Yeah, see, that's any 17-year-old.
Right. Pastor calls it. Listen, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. I told you, sheltered. But I never snuck out. I did, I remember a kid, one of my friends was like, yo, you need to rebel. You need to get up against your parents. I was like, no, because I'm comfortable. Like, I know I got something good at home. Like, I get most of what I want, never having an issue. So yeah, I never, I didn't give my parents that kind of trouble. Whatever you like.
You had Dallas Cowboy pajamas.
See, why we gotta go back? Peter said, my sister and I started off learning how to clean at the age of 5. Right. It's the old school bringing up that my grandmother bestowed before she passed. Yeah. Now I did do the cleaning, like the mopping and vacuuming and dusting, while I think I started probably around 13, 14-ish. And that was my chore every week. Yeah. I've had moments where I thought Mop and Glow was a replacement for water. And my dad was like, "Why is this floor so sticky?" I was like, "What you mean?" I thought I found a quick way. Oh yeah, mop and glow is the bomb.
Two parts mop and glow, and 3 parts water. 5 parts
No,
water.
100% mop and glow. Right on the floor. Look at that. Look at that shine. Just glossing right over the dirt. All right. So let's see. Hold on one second. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by StreamYard. Ready to go live? Go to bit.ly/StreamYard BOL. That's bit.ly/StreamYard BOL. This episode is also brought to you by Self. Build credit now. Go to bit.ly/now build credit. bit.ly/now build credit. All right. Welcome back. Let's see. And if you've not shared, make sure you do so. Thank you for rocking with us and hanging with us and being a part of this broadcast. Be sure to join our community. Text LWN to 84576. Text LWN to 84576 and never miss any of the broadcasts that we have on the Legacy Walker Network. So we definitely appreciate it. Today we're talking about are we raising adults or just watching kids? So do you feel like do you feel like your children have gotten a lot of the basics with growing up, that they're pretty prepared, or you still you feel like there's some gaps? I mean, I know mine, of course, because they're 11 and 13, but trying to fill in those gaps. Like, what things do you think so I was talking about adversity, right? How, because when you're living comfortably, how do you discuss or show getting through adversity? I don't think we give our children enough credit.
Okay. Children recognize adversity watching their parents.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
They learn reactive measures watching their parents.
Right.
They see how you respond to trouble.
Right.
And they develop their response based on what they see, what they experience in their home. And I think a lot of people take that for granted.
Right.
I personally don't believe there is any such thing as ready.
Right.
But I also believe, I believe it both ways. I don't think there's really any such thing as ready, but I also believe that you can be as ready as possible.
Right. I got you.
Right. Because it's all about, raising children is about mitigation of risk.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You want to reduce the risk of something horrible happening. And if it does, you want to maximize the reaction or the response to it, the effectiveness of the response to it. Right. So I know I can't prevent anything from happening to my children as they grow up.
Right.
But I want to teach them as much as I can so that they can reduce the amount of opportunities where they put themselves at risk.
Right. Be aware, being able to see it, kind of
have a sense of awareness, have discernment, have wisdom, understanding, and what could the potential outcomes be. Give them as much information as possible without disturbing their ability to learn and grow and evolve.
Right.
Because you can't give them everything.
Right.
Certain things they're just gonna have to learn. And so so for me, you can get to a place where you feel like you've done what you're supposed to do as a parent.
Right.
But a parent is never going to feel like they've done all they can do.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely.
Some people will say it. I've done everything I know. No, there's always more that you could have done.
Right.
There's always more.
So should have had that conversation with them. Yeah.
So. Absolutely, Trina. They always going to feel like they're invincible. It doesn't matter how many children you have. Doesn't matter how old your oldest is. You could have 10 children, and the youngest of your children will never appreciate the lessons of the 9 that came before them. They're always going to think somehow their life is different. You know, it's just human nature.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it won't happen to me. So those are things you just can't control. So what the expectations that I have of my children are no different than the expectations my mom had of me.
Right.
Be your best, do your best, because I expect the best.
Right.
And in order for you to do that, I want to put the best of me in you.
Right.
That's really all you can do. And everything else you have to leave in God's hands. But if you're not doing it, I mean, it's the simple things, the principles of raising children. If your child is not opening books as a toddler,
right,
they're not building blocks, if they're not learning their ABCs, their 1, 2, 3s, and all of that stuff before you get them to school, they're already behind.
Right.
If they don't know the basic prayers, if they don't have a relationship or have been exposed to God early in life, they're behind. And people can challenge me on that. That's fine. But you're challenging me. You're challenging an imperfect individual, and I'm talking about things that I've experienced, that I've lived.
I got you.
And so that's what I look at. I think there are basic things basic fundamentals, foundational things that you have to put in your children, that every parent should put into their children. And certain parents will feel like, well, I'll do that at 2 years old. Some folks will feel like I do that at 10 years old. And I can't tell you when. I can tell you the earlier the better.
Yeah.
It's really just that. So somebody said something. Somebody said, teachers, I saw this online somewhere. Teachers don't do it for the income. Teachers don't teach for the income. Teachers teach for the outcome. And one of my philosophies in life is what I deal with my children based on outcome expectations.
Right.
So whatever I put into them, I have an expectation of what's going to be the outcome of that. And that's how we should parent our children, based on the outcome.
Right.
Not based on how smart you are, but based on what you expect to come out of your child. As a result of what you put in them. And that's when you're raising adults and not just watching children.
Yeah. Trina said the Lord had me see this today so y'all could talk me off the list. Richard said I didn't read well until I was 5. Listen, my son struggled with reading too, but it just was constantly putting the book in front of him, constantly having him enunciate words. It just was just the constant learning. And like you said, the raising of adults, the getting out, not trying to raise your kids comfortably. And what I mean by that is, raising them while you're trying to be comfortable. Sometimes it takes some sacrifice. It takes some taking time out of your life to put into their life. Because we do it more, of course, when they're babies, because you can't even close your eyes because you don't know what they're going to get into. So it's shifting that. He said outcomes become experiential. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Because one outcome does not guarantee the next outcome.
Right.
Right. Which is great. Parenting, I've learned, because I have adult children.
Right.
And I have teenagers. My adult children were brought into this world when I was a young person.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing that I caution people on is make sure that, not that you're an adult, but make sure you're grown.
Right.
When you start making babies. Because there's a difference between being an adult, being legal, and being grown.
Right.
And in a lot of cases, if you haven't been exposed to much in life, how much value are you going to be for your children?
Right.
There's a distinctive difference between my oldest and my youngest based on where I was when I had them. Right.
You're right.
So you're only as good as your experiences.
True.
Paul in scripture says, for I have given unto you that which I also received.
Right.
You can't give what you don't have.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So you're not raising adults if you're not one.
Right.
Because you don't know what adulting is yet.
True.
And then a lot of times parents are growing with their children because you started so early in life.
Right.
Twinning with your children.
Right.
I don't believe in twinning with my children.
Right.
I'll never forget when my son was, 3 years old, I used to cut the sleeves off my shirts
Yeah.
My t-shirts back when I had a physique. And I'd wear my baseball cap backwards.
That was right.
Yeah. And one day my son said, "Dad, can you cut my sleeves off?"
Right.
You know. So I cut his sleeves off his shirt, and he put his baseball cap on backwards, and we went strutting down the street. And I looked at him, and I'm like, "Yeah, man, my boy." You know.
Right.
And I'm like, "You're so silly." But it was cool. You know, it was great because that lesson for me was he's going to do what you do. So be very careful what you do in front of him.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
So if you're trying to raise him, don't be a child in front of a child.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
Because the Bible says, when I was a child, I thought as a child, I spake as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. It doesn't mean I can't entertain my child, but I can't be a child in front of my child.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good.
And we make those mistakes as parents. We have children too soon. And our behaviors are the same. You can't tell who the grown-up is.
Right.
So if you don't have it in you, it's hard for you to give it to somebody else.
Yes, indeed. So let me ask you this. Some time ago, we talked about boundaries, and how did you describe it? Like trying to tell your kids what they can do, not what they can't do. You know, trying to so going into adulthood, right? Like it's like you want your child to continue to be able to see things bigger, you know, to imagine more, you know, to go after greater things without being confined to what's just in front of them. What's up, Jay? Good morning, sir.
Man, how you doing? Jay Hamilton McCoy, Esquire,
in the building. So how would you kind of lift the limits of what your child can do, even going into adulthood? You know, because as an adult, like you always talk about, you don't know the boundaries till someone tells you, like what you can't do. You know, you don't know.
You trip outside, you fall over the cliff.
Right. That's true. Like,
one thing I learned. This is why I love the Word of God. This is why I love the Lord, because in all God's instructions, God always gave three things. Or he gave, actually, watch. Let me see how this plays out. God would always give instruction whenever he talked to people. He would tell you. He would first identify who he is, and then he would tell you what he's done for you. Right. And then he would give you instruction. But one thing about God's instruction is he would tell you what to do, and he would tell you what not to do. But God would always go further, and he would give you the benefits of obedience, and he would give you the consequences of disobedience. And I think that's where you can't give children enough information.
Gotcha.
Right. When they're very young, I used to give my children options, and I made sure that before I gave them options, that I was comfortable with each of the options. I never gave my child an option that I was not comfortable with.
Gotcha.
You know, if I give you three options, I'm gonna make sure I can live with all three, with either one you choose. Right.
Definitely.
And that makes it easier for parents. And it gives children free moral agency, the power to choose. They can make a decision and live with their decision. Right. And as they grow older, you know, when you talk about things that you shouldn't do, you know, at one point you say, don't do that. And they may not understand why. You understand? True. So it's just don't do that. As they grow, they'll learn. You can explain to them why you don't do something like that. You know, I was a dangerous parent. I'd let you touch the hot thing. So that you would understand.
Right.
You don't need me to tell you. Now you know. You know, when you touch it and you scream, I'm like, hot. So anytime I saw something that was hot and they were curious and I say hot, they know I'm not touching it. You know?
Okay, so let me throw this up here. So I'll just ask you both. Obviously, my son doesn't think he should have a curfew. Thoughts?
That's funny. So I'll give you a recent experience. My 17-year-old wanted to get a second set of holes in her ears. She wanted another piercing in her ears.
Wow.
And she felt like because she has a part-time job, since she could afford to do it, that she could do it.
Right.
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 The problem is that in the state of Georgia, you have to be 18 to get your ears pierced without parental consent. Right.
Okay.
Okay. And so she asked if someone could take her.
Okay.
Instead of asking for permission to get it done.
I got you. I got you. I'm with you.
I'm going somewhere, Trina. And so my question to her was, are you sure you're asking the right question? Right. Just because you can afford it doesn't mean you have the power to do it.
Right.
And it's something simple like getting your ears pierced, It's no big deal, but let's make sure we have an understanding about what's happening here.
Right. She tried it. Right.
Yeah. And so I said, well, if they won't let you do it without my permission, don't you think you should ask for my permission?
Right.
So with regards to curfew, if your son is caught at 1 o'clock in the morning, right, by the police.
Yep. Oh, that's good. That's good.
And they don't tell him to go home.
Right.
But if they telling you that you should be at home by now, that means you got a curfew.
That's good. That's good.
You understand?
Yeah.
Because if are you on your own at 17, paying your own bills?
Right.
See, if you controlling if you're managing your own household.
Right. That's where I was going to go.
That's grown stuff.
That's where I was going to go. Right.
But if you don't control what time the door gets locked, you should have a curfew.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. 100%. That's exactly where I was going to go with that. Yeah. If you have no control this, and honestly, stuff like that sets the boundaries to like, I need to grow up so I can grow out, because when too many liberties is like, it's kind of like with somebody not married, like, what am I getting married for if I'm getting everything? So it's kind of like you need to put some boundaries. Like I need to get out of this house.
Yeah.
I need to get my job, get it together, and get out of here. It's exactly what I want you to do. Right?
Ask your son, does he have the power to change the locks on the doors at home?
Right.
If he doesn't have the power to change the locks on the doors at home, then he needs to be inside before those doors are locked.
Right. He said they putting names on the orange juice, but don't want a curfew. Right.
And ain't even bought the orange juice. Let alone curfew.
Right. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Oh, so yeah. So there's your answer. You're welcome. Yeah. Because you gotta, and it's a respect thing. It's just got like, you can't all night. Until unless there's an understanding, they're an adult, they're paying some half the rent, then there's a negotiation that's happening, but they're still a child.
Yeah, I mean, like at 17 years old, am I supposed to be comfortable knowing that you're still outside the house at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Right. Like, what do you?
If that makes me uncomfortable, 2 o'clock ain't it?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So yeah. All right. Oh, so yeah, that's just. Hey, that falls right in line with what we're talking about.
And we don't have to be mad. See, as parents, we get angry about stuff like that, forgetting that such were some of us. The Bible says, such were some of you. You had these issues when you were young. What's important is effective communication.
Classic. That's classic right there. Yeah. Ain't nothing open at 2 a.m. but two things. She says, so I've heard.
Yeah. And one of them is 7-Eleven. I ain't gonna
Oh man, yeah, you're right. You can't get upset because you already know the mindset. You kind of know, kids are gonna push boundaries. That hey, I'm at this level now. I should should get, and then you just have to give them understanding. Like this is where we're at. This is where we're at. That level right there. When you're trying to get there, that means you have your own right there. This is with us. This is having your own, and then I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So, not that I don't care, but now I know you're holding it down. You're responsible. So I don't have to, worry about, I won't worry as much, but 2 a.m. at 17. Yeah. Like
I've learned to I listen to the stories that my children come home with, and they're giving me situations that they found themselves in, and I'm like, well, what did you do? How did you respond to that? And I listen to how they respond to it.
Right.
And I'm either going to be comfortable with their response or uncomfortable with their response.
Right.
And based on how they dealt with it tells me how much I can trust them.
Right.
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 I say things like, well, based on how you handled that,
right.
You think maybe you could have considered this.
Right.
This is the possibilities that come with that response.
Right.
I know it didn't happen, but here's what could have happened.
Right.
Right. And if you responded this way, you probably would have reduced the chance of something like this happening.
Right.
Now, can you imagine where we would all be if this had happened with your response?
Right. Right.
Yeah. This is why I struggled with you being out by yourself.
Right.
Right. I go all the way around and then I come back and like, now this is why.
How did I set myself up like that?
Yeah. This is why you have to check in with me when you get to point B.
Yes.
How long you're going to be there. And this is why I need those things,
Right.
Right. Because you go out, you teenagers go out and, they done been 10 places.
Right.
And you only heard of one.
Right.
And had you gotten snatched up at place number 4, and I'm only aware of place number 1, I have no idea where you've been. Or, the last place you were, I just and the world is too dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially now. Yes. Yeah. Like I need to know where we at so I can track your timeline. So I know, if you disappeared, I know where to go to.
Young people don't know, like they work part-time jobs and they make decisions on the job that makes the company liable because they deal with certain situations, dealing with customers and all that kind of stuff. Right. And I'm like, you understand that your interaction with this individual could have put your company, the company you work for in an ugly situation. And I'm like, you don't own the company. That ain't yours. Teach your children to exempt themselves as early as possible when disruption happens outside the house. Right. I have situations. I got a daughter who works in one of the stores, grocery stores, and she sees things happening with customers and stuff. And I'm like, the first thing you do is call management.
Right.
That's the first. So you immediately subtract yourself from the equation so that there's no liability on you.
Definitely.
Make them responsible as soon as you can. Right. So that you're out of the mix, because children get outside and they think they're grown and they try to make grown-up decisions and their decisions in their mind, they're making it because they feel like they have the power to do it. But the outcome could be so dangerous that it impacts the entire family.
Right.
When the easiest thing would have been come home.
Right.
You don't have to get people told out there in those streets. You understand? And that's the thing, like young people will say anything to anybody nowadays. And I'm saying that's your mistake.
Yeah.
And I tell young boys who, I years ago, I haven't had it happen in a long time, but I can remember years ago where young boys would try to raise up on me. And I'm like, I don't think your father can get here fast enough.
Right.
And I used to tell young boys, right now, the rate you're going, I need you to stop talking and call your father right now. Right. Because you're having a conversation with me. That I should be having with your father. Right. Because if this is how he talks, I should be talking to him so that you don't take this butt whooping. Right. I mean, it's just the reality.
Indeed.
And so that's the danger of young people. Like when we were growing up, you didn't talk back to grown folks.
Not at all.
It didn't happen.
Nope.
And grown folks had the right to knock you in your mouth, and then they'd walk you home and tell your parents what they did. Right. Nowadays, you catching cases. Somebody gonna be in the grave. So I'm saying, watch your mouth. And let grown folks be grown. You stay a child so that you can come home. And so I don't catch a case. So it's things like that I tell children, it's one thing to be an adult, but it's another thing to be grown.
Right. That's good. Raising our kids. Wonderful. So that's some of the challenges. Is just, show them the way as much as possible, taking off, show them the unlimited possibilities, yet and still let them know the limitations. Let them know,
Right.
you know,
You
what's
can do
to be done.
anything that you
Right.
put your mind to.
Right.
Which is awesome, but it's also scary.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Right.
Because you can do anything that you put your mind to, be careful what you allow into your mind.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yep.
Because your thoughts become your actions.
Yes.
That's real. And so so I think we have to empower our young people. And another mistake that grown folks make is stop talking to children like they're grown. Stop aging your children with conversation. Get them out of grown folks' conversations.
Yes.
You know, I can't tell you how uncomfortable it is to listen to somebody 8 years old having a 30-year-old conversation.
Right.
It's scary.
Right.
It's scary. And listen, I've heard it even with my grandchildren. I'm like, no, you don't belong there.
Right. Right.
Excuse yourself.
Right. You ever do the, hey, are they still here?
Yeah.
You know, like you about to start talking about somebody.
You
need to go somewhere.
But I've learned to deal with grown-ups.
Right.
I'd be like, not now.
Right. Right. You
know, because sometimes you don't want to dismiss the children because they know the conversation is getting ready to change. Now, all they're thinking about is what they might be missing. So they're around the corner.
Trying to hear.
You know?
Right.
Yes, I tell grown people, table that.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because, we make that mistake at family events, get-togethers and all that kind of stuff. And everybody get to talk and the children in the room, and I'm like, that's all good, but make sure they're at the swimming pool or
right.
cornhole game, something. Put them somewhere before you start having those intimate conversations about family and all that kind of stuff, because they don't need to hear all that.
Right.
They don't know what to do with that information.
You want them to continue to like Aunt Sally. We're just having an Aunt Sally moment. And then once they hear it, they're never going to talk to Aunt Sally ever again. Like
Mama say, Uncle Charlie always drunk. I can't go nowhere with you, Uncle Charlie. My mama said you drink too much. Like your mama said, what? Now, Uncle Charlie, you know you drink too much. Let the children be children, man.
Yes, indeed. Oh man. All right. We're gonna go ahead and get out of here. We appreciate you guys hanging and rocking with us. Make sure you share, tag somebody. Don't hold this information for yourself. Tag somebody. Put it in the inbox. But we appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you are part of our network. Spliggity sply, where's it at? Join our community. Text LWN to 84576. Text LWN to 84576. Never miss an episode. Never miss anything that's going on with the Legacy Walker Network. Continue to be a part. What is that? So you have a great day as well, Deborah. You're welcome, Trina. Thank you for rocking and thank you for being here. We always
absolutely.
Thank you for engaging. Anyone had any questions? Definitely always put it in. Like we always say, was it never any dumb question? Just ask. You never lose out by asking. We'll always entertain, especially if it's in line with what we're talking about. We'll love to dig in because it helps expand the conversation. All right.
Right. Because the information isn't, this dialogue is limited to our experience.
Right.
There's so many more out there. All of you all have a story to tell.
Right.
So this is the book of Brian and the book of AD.
Right. So when you throw your stuff,
make it all right, but it makes it all mine.
Right. Yes, indeed. All right, guys. So we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Oh, make sure you watch. What's today? Tuesday. We got Solomon Temple Christian Ministry Bible study happening tonight.
Unless I can get out of this meeting, man, I don't think we're going to have Bible study tonight.
Okay. Correction. We won't be
has called me to a meeting, so I don't know.
Wow.
You have to wait and see. Just look out for it. If I can get out of this other meeting, we'll have it.
Listen, I'll send a text. Connect with us, LWN to 84576. If you get a message, come on and join us. If you don't worry about it. We'll see you on
next week. Next week is convocation.
You see that?
Like, I know we're supposed to be doing part 2. It was supposed to close. I hope all you all read Exodus. I hope you read the chapter.
You got some extra chapter.
So if we do have it,
you ready? So make sure you got extra time. You're
supposed to come back with questions. But
all right.
But if not, if we don't have it tonight, we will see you in 2 weeks, because we do have a jurisdictional convocation next week, and the flyer for our convocation is on the Solomon's Temple Facebook page. I believe it is.
Yeah.
So
I think it is.
If it's not, it will be. It should be out there.
It will be. All right.
So check that out, and you can log in and experience our state convocation next week under Bishop Michael J. Payton Sr. Yes. The Georgia Metropolitan Ecclesiastical Jurisdiction is going to have service every night next week, Monday through Friday. It's going to be a high time. Monday night will be the men's department president, Superintendent Melvin Evans, great man of God out of Chicago. And then Tuesday night will be Pastor Donta Long, who is out of Hampton, Georgia, or McDonough, Georgia. Seed Planters McDonough will have a fiery word on Tuesday night. Wednesday night will be Superintendent Larry Mosley, who was the first administrative assistant to Bishop Michael J. Payton Sr. Superintendent Larry Mosley, been a preacher for over 40 years, and he is a historian of the gospel. I know he's got a word for Wednesday night. Then Thursday night will be our state mother, Ruby Williams, an anointed prayer warrior, woman of God. She is going to bring a fiery word for the women's department. And then Friday night will be the official night. Our Bishop Michael J. Payton will close it out. And Bishop knows how to bring it home. So we look forward to you all experiencing the Georgia Metropolitan Ecclesiastical Jurisdiction convocation every night next week. Look forward to it. It's going to be a high time.
Amen. And I will be there every night sharing. Sharing from the pew. All right. Yes. We appreciate you guys. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay safe and continue to be mindful. You know what's going on. Be safe. All right. So we look forward to seeing you guys in the morning, same time, same place. And make sure you text the community. You'll find out what we're talking about. Take care. As always, we love you. Know that God loves you more. Stay safe. Thank you guys for hanging. Make sure sharing is caring. All of my replay peoples that watch in the background that I